I saw my son's hand shaking as he tried to slide a paper under my pen, and the notary smiled at me like this was normal. The paper had my name on it, and one sentence on that page meant I could lose my home without even knowing it. My son leaned close and whispered, "Mum, it's just to help you. Just sign." That was the moment I understood something scary. The people smiling at me were not helping me. They were taking control. Before I continue, tell me in the comments where you're listening from, because I want to know I'm not alone in this kind of family pain. All right, let me take you back to how this started, because the trap didn't begin in an office. It began at my birthday. I turned 82 on a stormy Thursday near the middle of the month. Wind slapped the trees outside like angry hands. My daughter-in-law, Nora, kept saying, "We're keeping it simple," which is the exact sentence people say when they are not keeping it simple. For days, Nora and my son, Ethan, went quiet whenever I walked into a room. Conversations stopped like someone pulled a plug. They smiled too fast. They asked if I needed water when my glass was already full. My grandchildren were sweet and loud and normal, which made the adults look even more suspicious. I told myself not to be dramatic. When you're older, you learn a hard habit. You learn to excuse people you love. You tell yourself they're busy. You tell yourself you misheard. You tell yourself, it's nothing. The party was pretty. Too pretty. Vanilla smell in the air. Sparkling drinks. A crooked banner that said, "Happy birthday, Nana." The kind of banner kids make when they're trying their best. My chest warmed seeing it. They played songs from the days when my knees didn't hurt, and my husband, Sam, used to dance in the kitchen while fixing the radio. I laughed. I posed for photos. I blew out candles and made the kind of wish older women make. Not for money, not for miracles. Just, please, let my family stay kind when I'm not strong enough to hold everyone together. Sam had been gone for years. Long enough that people stopped saying his name unless I say it first. My world had become smaller. This house, these walls, these faces. That night, I kept telling myself I was lucky. After cake, people broke into little groups. Small talk, clinking glasses, soft laughter. I went to the hallway to get my cardigan because the air conditioner was rude to my bones. That's when I heard them. I didn't plan to listen. I didn't stand there like a spy. I was just walking. But the study door was not fully closed, and my son's voice slipped out like smoke. Ethan said, "If we wait, it gets messy." Nora replied fast, "Exactly. We do it now while she's happy." My hand froze on the cardigan. My stomach tightened like a knot. Ethan said, lower this time. "She won't understand the wording, and if she asks, we say it's routine." Nora gave a tiny laugh, not joyful, not kind. "By the time she figures it out, it'll be done." My heart started pounding so hard I felt it in my throat. In my head, I tried to rescue them. I tried to find a nice meaning. Maybe they were planning a surprise trip. Maybe it was a gift. Maybe I misunderstood. Then Ethan said something that killed my hope in one clean hit. "She won't sign if she understands, so we explain it slow. Gentle. Gentle." That word hurt more than a slap, because it meant they had already thought about my no, and they were planning to walk around it like it was a chair in the room. I stepped back, breathing shallow, gripping the cardigan like it could hold me up. Every smile from the party suddenly looked fake. Every "we love you" sounded like a tool. I went back into the living room and sat down like nothing happened, because that's what mothers do when they feel danger. They go quiet to keep the room calm. They swallow fear so children can keep eating cake. But inside me, something changed. Not loud, not dramatic. Just a hard click, like a lock turning. When the last car left and the house got quiet, I sat in the dark with my lamp off. I stared at the shape of my dresser like it was the only thing I could trust. I looked at old photos. Ethan as a baby. Ethan missing teeth. Holding a trophy. Ethan in his wedding suit next to Nora's bright smile. Sam in the front row with his hand on my shoulder, like a promise. The photos didn't disappear. They just started to feel heavy, like they were hiding a second story behind the first one. I didn't sleep. I replayed signs I had ignored. Nora suddenly offering to help with bills. Ethan saying, "Mum, you don't need to stress about paperwork anymore?" Letters I didn't open because they made my head tired. Here's something adults need to hear, and I wish someone told me earlier. Being trusting is not the same as being foolish. Sometimes you weren't careless, you were loving, and love without boundaries becomes an open door. By morning, the storm outside had calmed, but I hadn't. I made tea and sat at my table like a student ready for a test. I told myself, I will not panic. I will get facts. Late that morning, my phone rang. Ethan. His voice was cheerful, bright, too smooth, like he was still living inside the fake happiness of last night. "Mum," he said, "I'm coming by soon, just to help you sort a few documents from a lawyer's office. Nothing big." Nothing big. That sentence almost made me laugh because I remembered his whisper. She won't understand the wording. I said, "Okay, bring them." I did not confront him on the phone. Not yet. Because when someone is setting a trap, you don't jump and shout. You step back and watch where the rope is tied. Ethan arrived with a tan folder tucked under his arm like it was groceries. Nora did not come. He said she was busy, but his eyes moved too fast when he said it. I served tea. I kept my hands steady. I asked about the kids. I acted normal because normal makes people careless. Then he opened the folder and started talking in that slow, responsible voice adults use when they want you to stop questioning them. "Property taxes," he said. "Insurance. Some simple stuff. It'll make life easier for you." He slid papers toward me and pointed to lines with a pen. He kept using soft words: routine, safety, help, easier. But I looked at the paper the way you look at a stranger standing too close. I saw phrases I didn't like. I saw authorize. I saw act on behalf. I saw financial decisions. He said, "It's basically so I can handle things if you ever get sick." That's how these traps wear perfume. They smell like care. Here's a simple truth adults need to know. A power of attorney can be a helpful tool, but it can also be a weapon if the wrong person holds it. The problem is not the paper. The problem is the hand holding it. I turned pages slowly. I asked small questions, like a child playing innocent. "What happens if I change my mind?" He smiled. "Mum, why would you change your mind?" "Can I read it alone first?" He laughed like I told a joke. "Sure, but it's standard." Standard? That word is a bully in a suit. I said, "Where is the lawyer's letter that explains it in plain words?" Ethan's smile tightened. "They don't really do that, Mum." I nodded like I accepted that. But I didn't. He pointed again. "Just sign here and here." And in that moment, I understood why he wanted the birthday party first. The cake, the music, the smiles. It was sugar to soften my brain. It was to make me feel guilty for questioning him. I lifted my pen, and I set it down. "I'm not signing today," I said gently. His face changed for half a second. Not anger yet, not fear yet, just surprise, like a magician seeing someone refuse to clap. "Mom," he said, still soft, You're making this harder than it needs to be. I kept my voice calm. Maybe, but I need time. He tried again, nicer. Then he tried again, sharper. You always say you trust me. I looked at him and thought, yes, and you are using that sentence like a knife. I said, bring me the lawyer's contact. I want to ask questions myself. He hesitated. Just a breath. But I saw it. Then he gave me a business card. After he left, I sat with that folder on my lap like it was a snake pretending to be a scarf. My hands started shaking, not because I was weak, but because my body was finally telling the truth my mouth refused to shout. I forced myself to do the next right thing, not the loud thing, the right thing. I went to my bedroom and pulled out the old box Sam kept under the bed. He used to call it the boring box. Deeds, insurance, copies of letters, notes in his careful handwriting. When he was alive, I teased him. Why do you keep all this? He would say, because life is kind until it isn't. I opened that box and felt his love like a hand on my shoulder. Not romantic, not magical, just practical. I found the house deed. I found old bank paperwork. I found the name of a lawyer Sam trusted years ago. I called that number. The voice on the other end was older now, tired but sharp. I told him my name. There was a pause, and then he said softly, I remember you. My throat tightened. I need to ask you something, I said. I explained what I overheard. I explained the folder. I explained the pressure. He went quiet for a moment, the way people go quiet when they already know the answer but wish it was different. Then he said, carefully, someone called my office months ago asking about preparing documents for you. My skin went cold. Someone? He exhaled. They said they were family. They said you wanted it drafted so your son could manage things. Months ago. So it wasn't a sudden idea. It was a plan, a slow plan, a plan with smiles. I asked, did they schedule anything? He hesitated again, and then he said the sentence that made my whole house feel like it tilted. There is a notary appointment already set up in your name, and if you don't stop it fast, they can make it look like you agreed. My hand gripped the phone so hard my fingers hurt. I whispered, how fast is fast? He answered, very fast. And right then, my phone buzzed with a new message from Ethan. Mum, the notary is available tomorrow morning. I'll pick you up at 9. I stared at the screen, and the storm inside me rose again, bigger than last night, because now I knew the truth. This wasn't help. This was a countdown. I didn't reply to Ethan's message right away. I just stared at it until the screen went dark. Tomorrow morning, 9. Like I was a package he planned to deliver, like my life was something that could be booked in a calendar without my permission. I sat at my kitchen table and forced myself to breathe slow. Panic makes you noisy. I needed to be quiet and smart. I picked up my notebook, the one I used for grocery lists, and I wrote the date, the time, and Ethan's exact words. Then I wrote what I overheard at the party. Then I wrote what the old lawyer told me, prepared months ago. Adults need to hear this. When you feel pressure, start writing. Memory can be argued with. A written timeline is harder to twist. I called the lawyer again and asked one simple question. How do I stop the notary appointment? He said, you don't stop it by hoping. You stop it with facts and boundaries. He told me to call the notary office directly and say this clearly. I do not consent. Any document presented as my choice is false. He told me to do it in writing too, by email if possible. Then he told me something else that made my stomach drop. They may try a different notary, or they may try to claim you agreed earlier. Your goal is to create a clear record that you did not. So I called the notary office. My voice shook at first, but I kept going. My name is Evelyn. There is an appointment in my name. I did not request it. I do not consent to signing anything. Please note that in your records. The woman on the phone went quiet, then asked for my date of birth. I gave it. She said, "Okay, I'll add a note." I said, "I also want an email confirming you wrote that note." She sounded surprised, but she agreed. When I hung up, my hands were still shaking, but it wasn't hopeless shaking anymore. It was the shaking of someone waking up. Next, I called my bank. I asked to speak to a manager, not a customer care voice reading a script. When the manager came on, I said, "I need a trusted contact added and a note placed on my account. No changes, no access, no authorizations without me present and with my ID." He asked why. I didn't tell a long story. Long stories make people think you're confused. I said, "I'm an older customer being pressured to sign financial documents. I'm protecting myself." He got serious fast. He told me he could add an extra alert on my profile and that any attempt by another person would trigger a call to me. I asked him to read the note back to me. He did. Then I wrote his name and the time in my notebook. If you're listening and you're older, or you have parents who are older, remember this simple rule. Banks can help you, but only if you speak clearly and early. Don't wait until money is gone. Don't wait until papers are signed. That afternoon, I pulled every important paper I owned onto my dining table. Deed documents, insurance, old tax papers, bank statements, password list that I had kept somewhere safe, but hadn't updated in years. I realized how easy I had made it for someone else to step in and pretend they were helping. I changed my passwords right then. Email first, then banking, then my phone PIN. I didn't choose something cute. I chose something strong. Then I did the hardest thing. I called a lawyer I had never used before. Not someone Ethan could know from work. Not someone Nora could charm at a dinner. Someone outside our circle. I asked my neighbour for a recommendation, because neighbours hear things and they don't owe your family loyalty. My neighbour gave me a name. A woman attorney named Mira Shah. She handled elder matters and property disputes, and she was known for not being easily fooled. I drove myself to her office the next morning. Yes, I drove. Not because it was fun, not because my joints loved it, but because I needed to prove to myself that I still owned my own steering wheel. In the waiting room, I watched younger people tap their phones, bored, while my whole life felt like it was balancing on the tip of a pen. Mira didn't talk to me like a fragile plate. She talked to me like a person. She asked short, sharp questions. Who brought the document? What did it say? Was there pressure? Any witnesses? Any messages? I showed her Ethan's text. I told her what I overheard. I told her about the notary. I told her about the routine folder. And then I said the sentence I had been afraid to say out loud. I think my son is trying to take control of my money and my home. Mira nodded once, not shocked, not dramatic. This is common, she said, not because your pain is small, because the trick is the same. Then she explained the trick in simple words. A power of attorney can give someone the power to act like you. It can be limited, or it can be wide. It can be used honestly, or it can be abused. And the most dangerous part is this. It can look harmless on paper if you don't understand legal language. She leaned forward and said, "I'm going to teach you something today. If anyone rushes you, you slow down. If anyone tells you it's standard, you ask, standard for who? If anyone says, just sign, you say, I sign nothing without my lawyer. We made a plan, not a wish. Step 1. Send a written notice to Ethan and Nora stating I do not consent to any POA or property change and that I have counsel. Step 2. Record the notary cancellation email. Step 3. Add safeguards at the bank and, if possible, put a freeze or alert on any credit inquiries in my name. Step 4. Check my property records and place extra protection if local rules allowed it. Step 5. Prepare for the next move, because people who want control don't stop when you say no. They switch tactics. I left Mira's office with a folder of my own, not tan, bright, hard to ignore. And for the first time since my birthday, I felt something besides fear. I felt direction. When I got home, I found Nora's car outside. My stomach tightened. She hadn't told me she was coming. She was standing by my front door like she owned the porch. She held a casserole dish with both hands and smiled like a holiday card. "There you are," she said, too loud, too happy. "I came to check on you. You didn't answer your phone." I hadn't missed her call. I had ignored it. But I didn't say that. "Come in," I said calmly, because locked doors don't mean much when your enemy is family. Better to hear what they're trying. She stepped in and immediately looked around, eyes moving fast. Not at me, at my table, at the papers, at the new folder. She smelled like perfume and urgency. "I brought food," she said, placing it down like a peace offering. "You looked tired yesterday. Ethan said you were being stressed." Stressed. That word was a setup. Stressed people look confused. Confused people are easy to label. "I'm fine," I said. Nora tilted her head. "Evelyn, we're only trying to help. You know that, right?" Adults, listen. Manipulation often starts with a sentence that sounds sweet. We're only trying to help. If you push back, they call you ungrateful. If you agree, they take more. I kept my face neutral. "I spoke to my lawyer today." Her smile twitched. "Your lawyer?" "Yes," I said. She stepped closer, still smiling, but her voice sharpened under it. "Why would you need a lawyer? You have family." There it was. The trap sentence. Family. Like family is a contract that cancels your rights. I said, "Because family can still make mistakes." She laughed lightly. "Ethan would never hurt you." I looked at her and thought, "You're not here to comfort me. You're here to measure me." She walked toward my dining table, pretending to admire my old flower vase, but her eyes landed on my papers. "What are all these?" she asked. "Private," I said, gently. Her mouth tightened, then she recovered. "Evelyn, you're scaring us. You've been acting different, forgetful, snappy. Maybe you don't realize." My skin went cold. Mira had warned me, if they can't control your signature, they will attack your mind. I didn't raise my voice. "I'm not forgetful," I said. "And I'm not signing anything." Nora sighed like I was a stubborn child. "We already arranged the notary because you said you wanted it. Ethan took time off work. It's embarrassing to cancel." I met her eyes. "I cancelled?" Her face dropped for half a second. A clean flash of anger. Then it returned to sweetness. "Why would you do that without telling us?" "Because you didn't tell me you planned it," I wanted to say, but I didn't. I kept it simple. "Because it's my name." She picked up her phone. She didn't even try to hide it. "I'm calling Ethan," she said. "Go ahead," I replied. While she called, I did something else. I turned on the voice recorder on my phone and set it face down on the counter. The screen stayed black, but the recording light was on. If you're listening, check your local laws about recording. But here's the lesson. Always protect yourself with proof when you suspect people will lie about what happened. Nora spoke into the phone in a soft, worried voice. Ethan, she's not okay. She's saying she has some lawyer. She's hiding papers. She cancelled the notary. I'm telling you, she's being influenced. Influenced. Another set-up word. It makes you sound weak without saying it directly. Ethan arrived less than an hour later. No greeting hug, no smile. He walked in fast, like a man entering a fight. His eyes went straight to the table. "Mum," he said, tight. "What is going on?" I looked at him and felt something painful and strange. Grief mixed with disappointment. Because I could see how prepared he was to argue, how ready he was to win. Not to understand, to win. "I'm not signing," I said. "And I have legal counsel." Ethan's jaw clenched. "You don't need counsel, you need rest." Nora nodded quickly, acting relieved. "See? That's what I said." Ethan stepped closer, lowering his voice like he was calming a child. "Mom, you're making a huge mistake. That POA is for emergencies." Mira's words echoed in my mind. "If anyone rushes you, you slow down." I said, "If it's only for emergencies, we can draft a limited one, with my lawyer, and clear rules, not your rushed version." Ethan's face hardened. "Why are you suddenly suspicious? Who put this in your head?" I answered honestly. "You did. At my birthday. I heard you." For a second, the room went silent. Nora's eyes widened. Ethan's face flickered like someone yanked a mask. "What did you hear?" he asked. I didn't repeat everything. I didn't give them a script to argue against. I said, "Enough." Nora jumped in fast. "Evelyn, you're twisting things. We were talking about making things easier. You always complain about paperwork." I stared at her. "Then why did you say I wouldn't understand the wording?" Her mouth opened, then closed. Ethan snapped. "Mum, you were eavesdropping?" There it was. The move. Shift blame. Make me the bad person for hearing the truth. I stayed calm. I was getting my cardigan. The door was open. Ethan's voice rose. "This is ridiculous. We are your family." "And I am still me," I said quietly. "Not a child. Not an object. Me." Ethan took a breath, then spoke slower, like he was trying a new tactic. "Okay, fine. If you won't sign, at least come tomorrow and meet the lawyer. He'll explain it. You'll feel better." I looked at him and felt the danger behind that softness, because I could see the next step now. Tomorrow wasn't about explaining. Tomorrow was about cornering me with professionals and pressure so I'd feel small. "I'm not going," I said. Nora's voice turned sharp for the first time, the sweetness cracking. "Evelyn, you can't do this to us. Do you know what people will say when they find out you don't trust your own son?" "Ah, reputation, shame. People will talk." Another leash. I said, "Let them talk." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "You're going to regret this." He said it like a warning, like a promise. Then he pulled out his phone and showed me an email on the screen. He didn't hand it to me, just flashed it like a threat. "Mum, the paperwork is already filed for review. If you keep acting like this, we may have to take a different route." "A different route," I repeated. Nora crossed her arms. "A route that protects you from yourself." My stomach dropped, because I finally understood what different route meant. It didn't mean another notary. It meant something worse. It meant they were about to tell the world, and maybe a judge, that I was not fit to control my own life. And before I could speak, Ethan said the next sentence like he had practiced it. We can file for guardianship if we have to. The room went cold. I looked at my son, and in his eyes I saw it clearly. This wasn't about help anymore. It was about control. My phone buzzed again on the counter. A new notification from my bank. Unauthorized access attempt. And the name attached to it was Ethan's. I didn't scream. I didn't throw the phone. I didn't even cry. I just stared at that bank alert until my eyes went dry. Unauthorized access attempt. And the name attached to it was my son's. Ethan saw my face change, and he stepped forward like he wanted to grab the phone, but I moved it away. Nora's eyes darted to the screen and then back to me, like she was trying to decide which lie to use first. Mum, it's not what you think, Ethan said quickly. I held up my hand. Stop. My voice came out quiet, but heavy. The kind of quiet that makes people listen. Then I did something I had never done in my life. I called my bank on speaker, right there in front of them. I asked for the manager by name because I had written it down. Adults, this is why you write things down. When someone tries to confuse you, your notebook becomes your memory with a spine. The manager answered. I said, Sir, I just received an alert that someone attempted to access my account. I'm at home. I did not authorize anything. I need you to freeze all non-essential access immediately, and I need a record of the attempt, including time and method. There was a pause. Then his tone changed. Mrs. Mercer, I'm pulling up your profile. Please confirm your security questions. I answered. Nora stood stiff as a statue. Ethan looked like a boy caught stealing sweets, except the sweets were my life. The manager said, I see the attempt. It was declined due to the note we added. I'm placing a temporary hold on any changes and sending you a confirmation email. Thank you, I said. Also, please add this. No one is allowed to act on my behalf, including family, without my written instruction in person. And if anyone tries again, call me and log it. He agreed. I ended the call. The air in my living room felt different, like truth had walked in with muddy shoes. Ethan's voice came out thin. Mum, I was only checking. Checking what? I asked. Nora jumped in. He was trying to make sure everything was okay, because you're being paranoid. I looked at her calmly. Paranoid people don't call banks and ask for records. Paranoid people guess. I am confirming. Ethan swallowed. Okay, fine. I tried to see if the account note was real. I stared at him. So you tested my boundary? He didn't answer. His silence answered for him. Then he said the word again, like he wanted it to scare me into surrender. Guardianship. I took a slow breath. My hands were shaking, but my voice stayed steady. Do you even know what guardianship means? He frowned. It means I can take care of you. No, I said. It means you can control me. It means a court can decide I'm not allowed to make my own choices. It means you can decide where I live, what I spend, who I talk to. That's not care. That's ownership. Nora rolled her eyes. Drama. I turned to her. If it's drama, why are you pushing it? She opened her mouth, then snapped it shut. Ethan took a step closer, trying the gentle voice again. Mum, you're twisting it. We're worried about you. You're older. I nodded. Yes, I am older. That does not mean I am invisible, and it does not mean my signature is public property. I walked to my dining table and picked up my bright folder from Mira. I placed it down like a brick. I'm going to explain something in simple words, I said. If you truly want to help, you will respect this. If you want control, you will fight it. Either way, I'll know the truth. Nora laughed like I was silly. What truth? You're acting like we're criminals. I looked at her. I don't need to call you names. I just need to describe your actions. Then I read from my notebook, slow and clear. The date of my birthday. The words I overheard. Ethan's text about the notary at 9. The notary office confirmation that I did not consent. The bank alert. The attempt under Ethan's name. Ethan's face went stiff. Nora tried to interrupt. You're making this sound bad on purpose. I kept going. Here's another lesson for adults listening, I said, still talking like it was just us in the room, even though I knew thousands might hear it one day. If someone is truly helping you, they don't rush you. If someone is truly helping you, they explain things in plain words. If someone is truly helping you, they don't hide appointments in your name. Ethan's jaw clenched. So what now? You're going to cut us off? I shook my head. No, I'm going to protect myself. Nora's voice turned sharp. So you think you're smarter than everyone now because you found a lawyer? I think I'm safer, I said. Ethan looked at me for a long moment, and I saw something behind his eyes. Fear. Not fear for me. Fear of losing control of the plan. He said, Mum, you can't embarrass us like this. People will talk. There it was again. Shame. The leash. I replied, Let them talk. Talking doesn't steal houses. Papers do. Ethan exhaled hard. Fine. If you want a war, we can do that. I didn't flinch. This is not war. This is me saying no. Nora grabbed her purse. Ethan, stop wasting time. We have to move. Move. Like I was furniture. Ethan stared at me, then pointed at my folder. You think your lawyer can stop everything? Yes, I said, because everything stops at my consent, and my consent is not available. He laughed once, bitter. We'll see. They walked out. Not a goodbye, not a hug. Just footsteps of people who believed they deserved something they didn't earn. The moment the door shut, my knees went weak. Not because I regretted it, but because my body finally released the tension it had been holding for days. I sat down, put my head in my hands, and whispered Sam's name like a prayer. Then I stood up. Because fear is loud, but action is louder. That same night, Mira called me back. I had already sent her the bank alert screenshot and my notes. She said, Evelyn, listen carefully. They threatened guardianship to scare you. Guardianship is not a casual form you file like a complaint. It requires court process, evidence, medical evaluation, and if they lie, it can backfire badly. I swallowed. So what do I do? You do what you already started, she said. You create a clean, undeniable record of your capacity and your intent. The next morning, I went to my doctor for a basic evaluation, not because I needed permission to be sane, but because I needed proof in case someone tried to paint me as confused. My doctor asked me questions. I answered calmly. He wrote in my file that I was alert, oriented, and fully capable of making decisions. He signed it. Adults listening. This is not shameful. This is strategy. If someone threatens to erase your voice, you protect your voice with evidence. After that, Mira prepared a formal notice letter to Ethan and Nora. It said I did not consent to any power of attorney or property transfer. It said I revoked any prior authorizations. It said all communication about legal matters must go through counsel. It also warned them, politely but firmly, that attempts to access my finances or misrepresent my consent would be documented. We sent it by email and by registered delivery, so no one could claim, I never got it. Then Mira did something else. She checked public records for my property to make sure no strange filing had happened. She found no transfer yet, but she said, "They were preparing. That means you acted in time." Acted in time. I held on to that phrase like a rope. The following week, Ethan's calls changed. No more cheerful voice, no more pretending. He sounded irritated, desperate. "Mom," he said, "why are you doing this? You're ruining everything." "Everything?" I repeated. He paused, then said too much. "We already told people the house would be ours one day." I felt a deep, cold sadness, not because of the house, because of what he had become. I said, "You told people something that wasn't yours to promise." Then he tried a softer tone. "We're in a tight spot, Mom. Nora's business. It didn't work. We have loans. We thought." "You thought my life was your emergency fund," I said quietly. He went silent. That evening, a new letter came from a different lawyer, claiming concern about my well-being and hinting at guardianship again. Mira looked at it and said, "This is pressure, not proof. We reply once, firmly, with your medical evaluation and your statement of intent." So we did. Then came the meeting. Mira invited them to her office. Not because she wanted drama, but because she wanted a clean end, a professional setting, witnesses, records. No shouting in my living room where they could later twist what happened. Ethan arrived with Nora and their lawyer. Nora looked confident at first, the way people look when they think they're about to win. Ethan looked tired. Their lawyer smiled too much. We sat across from each other, a table between us like a line on the ground. Their lawyer started with smooth words. "We are here because the family has concerns. Mrs. Mercer has been making sudden changes. There are signs she may be influenced by outside parties." Mira didn't interrupt. She let him speak, because when someone builds a lie, you let them build it tall enough to fall. Then Mira slid a document across the table. "This is Mrs. Mercer's physician's evaluation from last week," she said. "Sound mind, clear judgment." Nora's smile tightened. Mira slid another paper. "This is the notary office email confirming Mrs. Mercer did not consent to any appointment arranged in her name." Then another. "This is the bank alert record and manager confirmation of an unauthorized access attempt made under Mr. Ethan's name." Ethan's face drained. Their lawyer cleared his throat. "We don't know the context of that." Mira raised her hand gently. "The context is written. The attempt exists. The date exists. The name exists." Then Mira asked me to read one line from my statement out loud. My voice didn't shake. "I, Evelyn Mercer, being fully aware and of sound mind, declare that I do not grant financial or property authority to any family member at this time, and any attempt to obtain such authority through pressure or misrepresentation is against my will." When I looked up, Ethan stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Not as mum who will forgive anything, not as old woman who will sign, but as a person with a spine. Nora snapped, "This is humiliating." Mira replied calmly, "What's humiliating is trying to take someone's life while calling it love." Ethan's lawyer looked uncomfortable now, because lawyers like clean cases, and this was no longer clean. Mira leaned forward. "If you pursue guardianship with false claims, you risk serious consequences. If you attempt access again, we will consider legal action. The simplest path is for your clients to stop." There was a long silence. Then Ethan spoke, not like a fighter, but like a man who had run out of excuses. "Mum," he said, voice low, "I didn't think you'd find out." That sentence hurt more than anger, because it was honest. Nora shot him a look. "Ethan, don't—" But he kept going. "I let it go too far. I thought it would save us. I thought it was temporary." I stared at my son, and I felt two things at once: love and grief. Because love doesn't die just because trust breaks. But trust does break. I said, "You didn't just try to save yourselves. You tried to erase me." Ethan's eyes filled, but he didn't cry. He just looked ashamed. Nora's voice turned icy. "So what now? You're going to punish us forever?" I answered in the calmest tone I had ever used. "No, consequences are not punishment. They are the price of a choice." Nora stood up suddenly. "This is ridiculous. I'm not sitting here to be judged." Mira said, "Then you're free to leave." Nora grabbed her bag and walked out first, heels clicking like anger. The door shut behind her like a final sentence. Ethan stayed seated. His shoulders dropped. He whispered, "She's going to blame me." I said, "You made your choice, Ethan. Don't hide behind hers." He nodded, like the truth was heavy, but finally real. The meeting ended with legal clarity. No POA, no guardianship threats, no contact about legal matters without Mira. Clean boundaries. When I got home that day, my house felt quieter than it had in weeks. Not lonely, just calm. Calm because I wasn't performing anymore. Days passed. I heard through the small grapevine of life that Nora's business had collapsed completely, that she was angry at everyone, that she and Ethan fought like strangers. I didn't celebrate. I won't lie, part of me wanted to feel sweet revenge. But sweet revenge turns bitter fast. I had learned that. I didn't want my heart to become a trash bin for hate. One afternoon, a letter arrived from Ethan. Real paper, shaky handwriting, no big speech. He wrote that he was sorry. Not sorry he got caught. Sorry he did it. He admitted he was greedy and scared. He said he let Nora's pressure and his own pride drown his conscience. He said he didn't expect forgiveness, but he wanted to tell the truth at least once. I read it slowly, and I sat there with tea, feeling the fight inside me soften into something else. Not weakness, not forgetting. Something cleaner. I prayed quietly. Not for drama, not for show. I prayed for my son to learn before his life became only regret. I prayed for Nora too, because people don't become manipulators for fun. Something breaks in them first. That doesn't excuse it, but it explains why mercy matters. Then I wrote Ethan back. I didn't write a long lecture. Lectures feel powerful, but they rarely heal. I wrote the truth in plain words. I told him I forgave him fully. Not the kind of forgiveness that gives him access again. Not the kind that pretends nothing happened. But real forgiveness. The kind that stops the poison from living inside me. I wrote, "Ethan, I forgive you. I release you from my anger. But my boundaries stay. If you want a relationship with me, it will be built slowly, with honesty, and without pressure. Love does not need tricks. Love does not rush signatures." I ended with one sentence that felt like freedom. I can forgive you and still protect myself. A month later, Ethan came alone. No folder, no notary talk, no sweet lies. He stood at my doorway like a boy again, smaller than I remembered. "I'm sorry," he said, and this time it sounded real. I nodded. "Come in." We didn't fix everything in one day. Real life doesn't do quick miracles. But we took a first step. He apologized without asking for money, without asking for the house, without asking for control. And that's how I knew the lesson had finally reached him. Because the final victory wasn't keeping my home. It was keeping my heart clean while still standing firm. If this story taught you something, do me a favor. Share it with someone who has older parents or grandparents, and comment where you're listening from, your city, your country, so I can greet you in the next story. Also, subscribe if you want more real, practical stories that teach you how to protect yourself, keep your dignity, and still choose forgiveness without surrender.